or vital life force, and is synonymous with the astral light or spiritual air of the ancients. In regard to the substance, Eliphas Levi has written light, that creative agent, the vibrations of which are the movement and life of all things. Light, latent in the universal ether, radiating about absorbing centers, which, being saturated thereby, project movement and life in their turn, so forming creative currents. Light, astralized in the stars, animalized in animals, humanized in human beings. Light, which vegetates all plants, glistens in metals, produces all forms of nature and equilibrates all by the laws of universal sympathy. This is the light which exhibits the phenomena of magnetism, divined by Paracelsus, which tinctures the blood, being released from the air as it is inhaled and discharged by the hermetic bellows of the lungs. The history of magic. This vital energy has its origin in the spiritual body of the earth. Every created thing has two bodies, one visible and substantial, the other invisible and transcendent. The latter consists of an ethereal counterpart of the physical form. It constitutes the vehicle of Arches, and may be called a vital body. This etheric shadow sheath is not dissipated by death, but remains until the physical form is entirely disintegrated. These etheric doubles, seen around graveyards, have given rise to a belief in ghosts. Being much finer in its substances than the earthly body, the etheric double is far more susceptible to impulses and inharmonies. It is derangements of this astral light body that cause much disease. Paracelsus taught that a person with a morbid mental attitude could poison his own etheric nature, and this infection, diverting the natural flow of vital life force, would later appear as a physical ailment. All plants and minerals have an invisible nature composed of this Arches, but each manifests it in a different way. Concerning the astral light bodies of flowers, James Gaffarel, in 1650, wrote the following: I answer, that though they be chopped in pieces, brayed in a mortar, and even burnt to ashes, yet do they nevertheless retain, by a certain secret, and wonderful power of nature, both in the Jewess, and in the ashes, the self-same form, and figure, that they had before, and though it be not there visible, yet it may by art be drawn forth, and made visible to the eye, by an artist. This perhaps will seem a ridiculous story to those, who read only the titles of books, but, those that please, may see this truth confirmed, if they but have recourse to the works of M. Duchenne, de la Violette, one of the best chymists that our age hath produced, who affirms, that himself saw an excellent Pollock physician of Cracovia, who kept, in glasses, the ashes of almost all the herbs that are known, so that, when any one, out of curiosity, had a desire to see any of them, as for example a rose, in one of his glasses, he took that where the ashes of a rose were preserved, and holding it over a lighted candle, so soon as it ever began to feel the heat, you should presently see the ashes begin to move, which afterwards rising up, and dispersing themselves about the glass, you should immediately observe a kind of little dark cloud, which dividing itself into many parts, it came at length to represent a rose, but so fair, so fresh, and so perfect a one, that you would have thought it to have been as substantial, and as odoriferous a rose, as grows on the rose tree. Unheard of curiosities concerning talismanical sculpture of the Persians. Paracelsus, recognizing derangements of the etheric double as the most important cause of disease, sought to reharmonize its substances by bringing into contact with it other bodies whose vital energy could supply elements needed, or were strong enough to overcome the disease conditions existing in the aura of the sufferer. Its invisible cause having been thus removed, the ailment speedily vanished. Insert the title page of the Book of Owls. From Mus M. Hermeticum Reformatum et Amplificatum. This title page is a further example of hermetic and alchemical symbolism. The seven-pointed star of the sacred metals is arranged that one black point is downward, thus symbolizing Saturn, the destroyer. Beginning in the space immediately to the left of the black point, reading clockwise discloses the cryptic word vitriol formed by the capital letters of the 7 Latin words in the outer circle. Continued the vehicle for the Arches, or vital life force, Paracelsus called the mumia. A good example of a physical mumia is vaccine, which is the vehicle of a semi-astral virus. Anything which serves as a medium for the transmission of the Arches, whether it be organic or inorganic, truly physical or partly spiritualized, was termed a mamiya. The most universal form of the mamiya was ether, which modern science has accepted as a hypothetical substance serving as a medium between the realm of vital energy and that of organic and inorganic substance. The control of universal energy is virtually impossible, save through one of its vehicles, the mamiya. A good example of this is food. Man does not secure nourishment from dead animal or plant organisms, but when he incorporates their structures into his own body he first gains control over the mamiya, or etheric double, of the animal or plant. Having obtained this control, the human organism then diverts the flow of the RHS to its own uses. Paracelsus says that which constitutes life is contained in the mamiya, and by imparting the mamiya we impart life. This is the secret of the remedial properties of talismans and amulets, for the mamiya of the substances of which they are composed serves as a channel to connect the person wearing them with certain manifestations of the universal vital life force. According to Paracelsus, in the same way that plants purify the atmosphere by accepting into their constitutions the carbon dioxide exhaled by animals and humans, so may plants and animals accept disease elements transferred to them by human beings. These lower forms of life, having organisms and needs different from man, are often able to assimilate these substances without ill effect. At other times, the plant or animal dies, sacrificed in order that the more intelligent, and consequently more useful, creature may survive. Paracelsus discovered that in either case the patient was gradually relieved of his malady. When the lower life had either completely assimilated the foreign mamiya from the patient, or had itself died and disintegrated as the result of its inability to do so, complete recovery resulted. Many years of investigation were necessary to determine which herb or animal most readily accepted the mamiya of each of various diseases. Paracelsus discovered that in many cases plants revealed by their shape the particular organs of the human body which they served most effectively. The medical system of Paracelsus was based on the theory that by removing the diseased etheric mamiya from the organism of the patient and causing it to be accepted into the nature of some distant and disinterested thing of comparatively little value, it was possible to divert from the patient the flow of the RHS which had been continually revitalizing and nourishing the malady. Its vehicle of expression being transplanted, the RHS necessarily accompanied its mamiya, and the patient recovered. The Hermetic theory concerning the causations of disease. According to the Hermetic philosophers, there were 7 primary causes of disease. The first was evil spirits. These were regarded as creatures born of degenerate actions, subsisting on the vital energies of those to whom they attached themselves. The second cause was a derangement of the spiritual nature and the material nature. These two, failing to coordinate, produced mental and physical subnormality. The third was an unhealthy or abnormal mental attitude. Melancholia, morbid emotions, excess of feeling, such as passions, lusts, greeds, and hates, affected the mamiya, from which they reacted into the physical body, where they resulted in ulcers, tumors, cancers, fevers, and tuberculosis. The ancients viewed the diseased germ as a unit of mamiya which had been impregnated with the emanations from evil influences which it had contacted. In other words, germs were minute creatures born out of man's evil thoughts and actions. Insert Johannes Baptist van Helmont. From Van Helmont's Ausgang der Artsmankunst. At the beginning of the 17th century, Van Helmont, the Belgian alchemist to whom incidentally, the world is indebted for the common term gas, as distinguished from other kinds of air, while experimenting with the root of A, touched it to the tip of his tongue, without swallowing any of the substance. He himself describes the result in the following manner: immediately my head seemed tied tightly with a string, and soon after there happened to me a singular circumstance such as I had never before experienced. I observed with astonishment that I no longer felt and thought with the head, but with the region of the stomach, as if consciousness had now taken up its seat in the stomach. Terrified by this unusual phenomena, I asked myself and inquired into myself carefully. But I only became the more convinced that my power of perception became greater and more comprehensive. This intellectual clearness was associated with great pleasure. I did not sleep, nor did I dream. I was perfectly sober. And my health was perfect. I had occasionally had ecstasies, but these had nothing in common with this condition of the stomach, in which it thought and felt, and almost excluded all cooperation of the head.